Hello there and welcome to the video. I think it's high time we do a tactical pattern. I've been doing a bunch of mating patterns and even a strategical pattern, but it's been a while since we did a tactical pattern. Now this tactical pattern I have chosen to call Alekhine's Superpawn. And well, in my old videos I called it Engels Superpawn, but I think it's more appropriate to attribute this to Alekhine. And the pattern kind of comes from this game. It's Bogo-Alekhine against Alekhine, and Alekhine had black, and let's see, the lead up here. White took the pawn on a5, and here Alekhine started his idea. He played b4. We have a rook trade, and seemingly black would take back here, which is a good move actually. Take the rook. And the game goes on. But Alekhine had a different idea, and he took the queen on c3. Quite spectacular, because what happens? You take the queen, and if you take back, you're just losing. I take the rook, and just takes this. Well, we're down a pawn here, but this can't be black's idea to lose a pawn. And it wasn't his idea, because he played c2. He allowed white to take the rook with check and then move again. But the fact is, he can't find a move that is going to stop our pattern, the Superpawn, Alekhine Superpawn. And this is basically the pattern: a pawn on the 7th. In this case, it's black, so it's the second rank, but we use a pawn on the 7th, and we can't control the queen square and the knight at the same time. We could if we had a rook. If there was a rook and he could come back, we could do it. If this square was somehow covered, like a bishop, maybe a king, then we can move the knight and we're okay. But for the pattern to work, if you can't, get a rook back, a heavy piece back on the first rank to protect both, and you don't control the first rank, then the pawn or queen. There's no way around it. Another way would be if there was a rook here, I could actually move the knight. And there's not going to be a queen. But as it is, it's going to be a queen. And as you see what happened, knight f2 and Alekhine queened. And actually he didn't win all that much material, to be honest. Okay, he got a new queen and white has 2 rooks. But the problem is white has almost no piece coordination. The rook is down here. These pieces are cluttered around the king. So white is actually going to lose more material, and after the bishop to b5, there's trouble down here. This is looming large. He gave back one exchange, and eventually won the game. And actually he got to use the pattern kind of again. So d5, king g8, he took it, d6 takes, and then at the end, queen e2. So I think we can truly call this Alekhine Superpawn. In this case, the king is close, and it can actually come here. That's one more thing. If the king can come here, you can stop both. So either a rook coming back, a heavy piece coming back to guard the first rank, or a king to stop the pawn. That stops the queening. But here, you have to use the king because I'm threatening to take and make a queen, and you can't stop both. So here he wins the piece back. That's what I mean. And he has a winning pawn endgame, and he went on to win rather easily. So twice in this game he used this pattern to good effect. So let's just, before looking at more examples, let's have a look at what we're talking about, kind of the skeleton of the pattern. Like we said, a pawn coming to the 7th, and the way the knight works, him being attacked, he can't protect the square. And these dual threats are very annoying for black here. And because we're attacking this, if we were to, if we had a heavy piece and we could somehow land a rook on the b file, it doesn't matter because we can take. So the only way to stop this would be, if we could, let's move the pawn over here. Like I said, if there was a rook available and he could come here, then we can stop both. Like a heavy piece can stop both. Another instance would be, like I said, if we're covering the square here with the bishop, then this threat is not enough because we can move the knight. So for this to work, we need there can't be a rook. There can't be a rook that's coming back here, and the square can't be covered. If none of those things are available, then we're gonna queen. We'll play this. We're gonna take a rook here would also be sufficient because we can now move the knight, and the rook is covering the queening square. But this should be, you know, enough to, you know, make you understand when placing a pawn on the 7th, attacking the knight is super powerful. And to drill this, we are going to look at some examples. I think one of the best examples is this game by Ludwig Engels against Maroczy. And white has just played queen g4, attacking the knight. Maroczy played knight b6. He's done the exchange, but the material is more or less equal. You know, it's 2 pawns for the exchange. But here, white was able to administer a winning maneuver and get the Alekhine Superpawn on the 7th. So what did white do here? You know, you should pause, take a few minutes, you know, try to solve it yourself. It's always useful. But white can and did play rook takes b2, deflecting the queen away from protection of the rook, which is important because now when we play the winning tactic, queen takes c8, you have to take with the knight, and then we can play d7. And we have everything in place for the super pawn to work. We can indeed, you know, place the queen on d file, covering d8, but it does not cover c8. So we're gonna make a new queen. The knight can move, then we'll make a queen on d8. The queen can't come back to f8, so this wins. And white is, well, it's gonna be up a rook. So very well done indeed. Another example I used in my original video was this one, where black played queen a5. Just show you the build up a little bit. You know, knight is attacked, it moved, knight to a1, b1, excuse me, no other square, and now b3. And this is one area where you know, getting the pawn here, if we get rid of the rook, we're going to see another example of this. You know, if we get rid of the rook and the pawn landing here, it's very strong. So okay, b3, and the pawn can't take because the rook is hanging at the end. So white moves the bishop, not to lose material. Black took on d3, and white flicked bishop takes f6 because otherwise we take this one and then take this one. So bishop takes f6. Rook takes d3. If queen takes, then this hangs. So a nice build up here. And now black flicked in, bishop takes f3. Just to double the pawns, because queen takes, it's going to be mate. So pawn takes. And now queen takes a2. And now we see that white is in big trouble, because if he takes, the super pawn is in full effect. Queens or takes is unstoppable. We can't stop both. Especially since we now cleared the first rank. There's no heavy piece on the first rank. If it was, we could play knight out and stop the pawn, but there's no piece on the first rank, so this works. And in fact, after queen takes a2, white played rook t1, but resigned shortly here after queen takes b2, since he's down a rook, so what to do? Okay, our next example is kind of an opening trap. So white plays d4. We have the Slav, e3, bishop f5, queen to b3, and queen to b6. White now took on d5, and black took on b3. Takes, and black flicked in bishop takes b1. Which is probably a mistake, because now white can play d takes c6. And this happened in the game Jan Ehlvest against Bogo-Alekhine Cordoba. Cordoba now played knight takes c6, and he played on down a pawn and lost the game. The reason he can't play the seemingly good bishop to e4 is because of a very nice tactic. Now remember, if we play c7, we can move the knight, because there is a rook, as we mentioned earlier, that can cover both squares. However, if we remove that rook, there's no such thing. So white would in this case play rook takes a7. And after takes, c7, again, Alekhine super pawn, he's gonna queen, or take the knight. In both cases, making a queen. So white wins. So all of these examples, by the way, I will link in the description. I have them all in the library on chess.com, so you can download the games, have a look at them yourself, and make a flashcard, whatever purpose you'd like to use it for. Here's another game where we show the power of the pawn on the rook file. So quick miniature, it's a Caro-Kann, takes, knight f6, knight g3, h5, and we have this h4 move, very aggressive, takes, h takes g3. The bishop comes back, intending to take on h2 twice. After rook takes h2, rook takes h2, pawn takes h2, bishop takes h2, and white would be reasonably happy. However, black does not take on h2. He has a winning tactic here. So pause the video and try to find it. And I will now show you. Queen a5, Czechoslovakia. Check to the king. Let's block it. Queen takes e5, another check. We take. And now, having removed the bishop, you can't take back on h2, so super pawn in the house. I'm gonna queen. Either way. And I'll be up a piece. Super duper good. So knowing this, we know how powerful the pawn is here. This kind of tactic can arise in this variation of the Vinegar French, the poisoned pawn. And well, black in this game was my late good friend Ingvar Ásmundsson. He shared my first name. Was a very strong player. I am strength. I played for the Icelandic national team, but this was not one of his best games, and he got hit here with queen takes g8. We can sacrifice the queen because Alekhine super pawn is so strong. It's gonna queen or do this. There's no way around it. Our final example, we're gonna show like the build up. Knight h4 hitting the rook. Where does it go? Has to go back. We trade. Now we start pushing f5. Knight has to go back. e6. Let's go to the open file. How do we punish this? I think this is the most thematic way to punish this for white. So try to find it. The correct move here. Well, actually, white can play a lot of moves, but like the most thematic move is to play rook to b1. I think the computer agrees, has it as the number one move. And the idea is, if the rook moves, we take the bishop. And if you take the rook, we have Alekhine super pawn to e7. Nothing stopping us, there's no rook anywhere on the 8th rank, and nobody's coming close, so we're gonna make a new queen. And that's what happened, and black resigned. Finally, I am going to leave a puzzle for you. And it's black to play. Black to play. His rook has just been attacked. And remember, avoid a rook stopping us, and avoid. You've seen one example of it. I'm not going to tell it. But there's another piece that can stop things. So you should be able to solve it. Don't rush. Don't rush. And tell me in the comments what's the solution to this one. How does black win? Hope you enjoyed it. I always appreciate if you leave a like and support the video, support the channel. We need it here up in them parts, so I would really appreciate that. I hope to see you soon and hope you enjoy the pattern recognition series. See you in the next one. Bye bye.